scoring, and specifically Canadian born, or more specifically Quebecois born.
Yeah.
Guy Lafleur, not many people can hold a candle to him, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Anthony, thank you so much for this first edition of Around the NHL. Looking forward to doing this every single week with you, buddy.
Same, man. Really looking forward to next week.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a show, right? So much to talk about, so much entertainment, so much geekisms. But now it's time to talk about money. $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, laughing all his way to the bank, is now looking at capfriendly.com and looking at all these crazy contracts and thinking, Bobrovsky. What were you thinking, Bobrovsky? You're off the force, Bobrovsky, as one TSN analyst would once say. But you know what? Scott Cowan, Sebastian Hyde, Joshua Rosa joining us for this final segment. And let's talk money. I mean, we're slowly stepping away from, slowly stepping away. We still have this year, next year, and the year after to finally get rid of Cole Osler's contract, which I think would qualify as one of the worst contracts in Habs history. But how about
the worst contract?
Maybe the worst contract. But how about we focus on the current roster only? Now, the money management has been pretty good, all around, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be some interesting takes here. So how about everyone? Let's pick who is the player on the current Montreal Canadiens roster that has the worst contract. And I'm going to start random dice roll. All right, Scott Cowan, you're going first.
The thing is about the Canadiens roster is that a lot of people, before obviously all the injuries, would point to Weber being the Habs' worst contract. As good as Weber was this past offseason, that contract looks really bad for the Canadiens. Fortunately for the Habs nowadays, if Weber does retire, then that's going to affect the Nashville Predators, who will have to pay cap or capture on that contract.
Yeah, and it's easy to complain about Weber, but we're not the one who offered him that contract.
It was the Philadelphia Flyers.
It was an offer sheet. Yeah.
But tying into Weber's contract going long term, I think that, in my own opinion, I'm just going to point to the Habs' worst contract at the moment in just terms of value and just terms of money being price. And I know it's going to be a very controversial opinion. I know it's going to be an opinion that many people aren't going to agree with, especially after the postseason he had. But regardless, Carey Price is still 34 years old, and he's still making $10.5 million a year for the next 5 seasons. And while he's fantastic in the postseason, his numbers in the regular season were a different story. A lot of Canadiens fans were leading up to the expansion draft were thinking, why do we leave Price unprotected? Why do we protect Jake Allen? Without Jake Allen, there would have been no playoffs for the Canadiens. And I think a lot of fans don't realize how important he was to our team this past season. So going into 2021-22, 2022-23 and beyond, I think it will remain to be seen whether Price will be able to live up to that starter's role and continue to play well. He's had injury troubles in the past, and if he gets hurt again, who knows how that contract's going to reflect upon the team. So while I think that Price is the most talented player he's one of the Canadiens' most talented players, and he's the backbone of this team, he's their franchise player, et cetera, that's a no movement clause, but the $10.5 million cap hit for a 34-year-old goalie who's one bad injury away from his career being over. So that's just my own personal opinion, but I'm going to roll the wheel really quick and just throw it high.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a look at the forward core real quick. So there are 2 forwards on the Habs roster that are under contract for another 6 seasons. They are the longest contracts that are on the team, and I think both are candidates for this slot. So Josh Anderson will be one of those, but he's not the one I'm picking because his contract is unlike a certain Erik Karlsson's, which Scott Cowan was calling buyout repellent. Josh Anderson's contract is very easy to buy out in the final 3 seasons. And at that stage, if he falls off, you can buy him out. No questions asked. It's all good. You can move on. And he might, and he's still, he's 27 years old and
he's
the
power
33.
horse.
And he's the power horse. So if you have to buy him out, it's probably just like the last season or 2. And by that point, it's pretty easy to do. The contract that really worries me is that of Brendan Gallagher, who's a player that I have adored. He was my favorite player growing up,
Whoa.
but it's a contract that I'm really, really worried about. Like I know like Dom from The Athletic, so like Dom Lucian, it's like the longest name. He always like looks at analytically what contracts look like, and Brendan Gallagher's grades amazingly well in his model. It's like totally underpaid even with this long contract. And I like analytics a lot, but one thing that analytics don't keep in mind is injuries. And we've seen Brendan Gallagher's wrists just take an absolute beating, like to the point that like his wrist shot isn't much of a threat anymore. He kind of just pokes. And I don't like I really want to be wrong in this assessment because like I'm sure I'm being swayed by recency bias of like judging the playoffs when he was very clearly injured throughout. Um, but 6 years at six and a half million when he's 29 years old, it ends when he's 35. From what I've seen, I don't like it. His play style has taken a toll on his body, and I think that can look ugly real quick. And it hurts me to say because I love him as a player, but 6.5 million with Brendan Gallagher's play style.
I love
for
though that
6 seasons.
I actually love the fact that, as hilarious as it is, that Scott and Sebastian are picking the poster child of the Canadians. Like they're both the face of the freaking franchise. But at the same time, I love, Sebastian, how you mentioned Gallagher, because everyone is so afraid to say this, that his contract is awful. You know, like I don't know, but like if you would have told me,
it could be like I feel like the next season or two is going to be determined. Like maybe he gets over his injury stuff, and he like it's a fine contract. It's scary.
Maybe
it
he
really
rises like a
scares me.
phoenix. Exactly. You never know, right?
Like you don't know, but it could be terrible. It could be fine, but it could be bad.
It could be really, really scary. Josh, I mean, come on, Gallagher, Price. I mean, come on, say, tell me one of the big names, man. Tell me Drouin at this point. Tell me Jeff Petrie. Tell me Nick Suzuki, for crying out loud. I mean, like, okay, so
how dare he make $900,000 a year?
How dare he make $900K?
Alex Bozilla at league minimum. That's a crime.
These contracts are too damn high. Joshua Rosa.
Can I say the worst contract is that Nick Suzuki hasn't been signed to one yet? Because that bad a contract. But I'm going to go a bit further down the lineup because, as we talked about in the past, Montreal is a super expensive third and fourth line that's making a lot of money. And there's a couple of options. There's Yoel Armia, who's making $3.4 million for maybe
you're scaring me, Josh.
The games.
You're scaring me, man.
He plays really well. I love, one of my greatest joys is watching him play the penalty kill. He could just run in like a wrecking ball in the other team's defensive zone and just hold it there for 30 seconds. But my pick is really Paul Byron.
Oh, he was my pick.
Yeah. It's so hard because he was so good. He was a waiver wire pickup from the Calgary Flames. Comes in, scores 20 goals like clockwork. Was great. Got a knee injury, got concussions. He was in and out of the lineup healthy this year, and he's making $3.4 million.
That's a lot of money for a bottom six guy, man. That is ridiculous.
Not even bottom six. He's in and out of the lineup last year. He was a waiver. He got put on waivers 3 or 4 times.
Not
and
once,
no
not
one picked
twice,
him up.
but thrice.
Yeah. But that doesn't say a bad contract. Sadly, I don't know.
I know, and I was gonna say the same thing. I mean, like, I love Paul Byron. I mean, he's a great guy. He wears the Habs logo on his heart every single game. But $3.5 million, man. I mean, I do want to say Carey Price though. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, like, yeah, to me, it's a tie between Price and Byron. Yeah, I know. Price is price, and he did what he had to do. But man, $10.5 million, man, that is, if that doesn't scream that we'll take care of the Quebec income taxes for you, like I don't know what does, because that is just absolutely crazy. But
so Pat,
yeah,
would you have preferred Seattle to pick Price?
yes, I'll be honest with you. Yes. If Seattle would have picked Carey Price, it opens up an infinite world of possibilities. That's $10.5 million in your pocket right there. And if let's say you still, let's say that like everything kind of still happened the way it's supposed to happen. You still got Dvorak, KK is gone. You signed Mike Hoffman, David Savard, and everybody else. But now you suddenly have all this money in front of you. Oh, geez, you could have gone not only. Sorry?
Could have gotten a guy like Peter Mrazek.
That's exactly where I was going. You could have got someone like Peter Mrazek, or that the other kid there from Carolina that was traded, the goaltending.
Djokovic. Yeah.
Who's awesome.
He was awesome.
And he cost a third-round pick.
Exactly.
So,
you could have had him tandem with Jake Allen, and then you could have made a pitch at a guy like Dougie Hamilton for all I know. You never know. So like,
I think. Oh man. And the thing of both, the problem with both Price and Byron, in my own mind, is that they have their contracts are a remnant of a past time for the Canadians.
Yeah.
Gave Price and Byron that contract back in like the 2016-17 season when Alexander Radulov was their leader on offense before Loberger went and lowballed him and they lost him to Dallas. And those contracts just don't reflect well in the modern day because that's just how time is, I guess.
Yeah, but I think even back then we kind of went like, okay, Paul Byron is Paul Byron, but
maybe we need Radulov a little bit more, but
maybe, who knows? How about we expand on this, guys, just to close the show off. And we talking about the Habs in the entire NHL. Who has the worst contract?
Erik Karlsson. Sorry, I just wanted to and just throw it out there. Not specifically Erik Karlsson. I've written a lot about Karlsson in my past. I've just been I've been fascinated by this contract. I've written a lot, very interested in it. But I still say that Karlsson and Jeff Skinner are a tie, in my own personal opinion, for the worst contract in the NHL. As you mentioned, I think Erik Karlsson's contract is just biorepellent. It's CLR kitchen cleaner. It can work on your bathroom tile. Those oil stains that you can't get rid of. Erik Karlsson's contract is an enigma. It's an albatross for the San Jose Sharks. And I think it very much defines that team, even beyond the controversy of Evander Kane. The Sharks are Erik Karlsson's contract. A full no movement clause, signed till 2026-27 at $11.5 million a year. That makes him the highest paid defenseman in the NHL. And he had 22 points in 54 games last season. A lot of Sharks fans and a lot of NHL fans, for some reason, will make the argument that Karlsson's still hurt, that he still needs time to recover. Erik Karlsson is healthy right now. The Erik Karlsson of the past, in my opinion, is gone. Once he had that ankle injury, once he tore those ligaments in his ankle, the main thing that made Erik Karlsson, his speed, is gone now. So the Sharks are either going to have to learn how to, they're not either going to have to, they're going to have to learn how to live with this contract because they're never going to be able to get rid of it. They're never going to be able to buy it out. They are permanently and 100% stuck with this.
Yep, an aging Karlsson on a rebuilding team. Woohoo!
Yeah, same thing applies to Jeff Skinner. It's just two players who are either stuck in stints of bad luck or stints of bad goals. And I think the best thing to mention about Jeff Skinner was that stickless breakaway he had with the Buffalo Sabres, which if there's a better definition for a player's 2021-22 season, I think you can find one.
All right, so Scott just robbed us of an obvious pick in Skinner. So, Josh, what's your pick for the worst contract in the NHL right now? I'm guessing he's wearing a badge, right?
I just raise your Skinner to say Officer Bobrovsky. He makes more than every other tandem outside of Montreal. That's both goalies combined, not just their number one goalie. And you can't tell me that the numbers that he's putting up now are worth both Tampa Bay goalies or both any goalie in the league. You throw a dart, he is not good for Florida right now, and it's hard to watch
for sure.
Florida get that tied around their neck and drag him down.
I still remember when the TSN panel, when Borowski's signing was announced, even then, the TSN panel said, they're going to regret this contract. The moment it was signed on July 1st, Ray Ferraro, Jeff O'Neill, all those guys said, this contract is going to look bad in the next couple of years because as is the case with a lot of Russian players in the NHL, frankly, they can sometimes just take the money and go, and they'll take it and they'll run into the ground with that 3.20 goals against average. So